So I understand I'm about a week late as far as the ROG Allies release, but I wanted to really sit down with the Steam Deck and do a deep dive with it in desktop mode, which I have not really tried. But as D4 came out and I found myself needing a quick desktop computer, that changed. I can say after spending a lot more time with the deck that I will not be upgrading to the Ally, and I plan on keeping my Steam Deck for a while. Now, disclaimer, I have not used the Ally or done a really big deep dive on it. I just happened to own a Steam Deck. I was curious about the Ally, so I watched a few reviews and focused on the aspects that I thought made the Ally a worthy upgrade over the deck to try to justify it. The goal of this video is to help others who are trying to figure out if they want to upgrade from the Steam Deck to the ROG Ally. So the reason I bought a Steam Deck was because sometimes I wanted to sit on my front or back porch or lay in bed and play PC games, and a laptop did not make sense for that. And to get a laptop for anywhere near an appropriate cost would have been either a very bad laptop, and to get a good laptop would have cost 2 or 3 times the price. So for that aspect, the Steam Deck has delivered. My playing experience on the Steam Deck revolves around most of a Horizon Zero Dawn replay, which is a single-player game where the FPS didn't matter a ton as long as it was playable. I was getting between, let's say, 30 to 40 FPS on medium settings. And lately I've been playing a ton of Diablo 4 on the Steam Deck, and I was getting between 60 to 70 frames per second on the deck itself. And that is great for a multiplayer game like Diablo 4. I also tried in desktop mode using an old 1080p 75Hz monitor I had laying around, and I was able to get a seamless playing experience once I understood how the Steam Deck worked in desktop mode. It took me maybe 30 to 45 minutes just to kind of figure out on my own. I had never done anything with desktop mode before, so I was a bit of a novice in that regard. The only slightly annoying thing is that the deck becomes a second screen, and D4 wouldn't let me play in full screen, which apparently is something that is a problem on all computers as far as I'm aware. And sometimes I clicked outside the screen and experienced a slight lag because of it. That said, the second screen was nice to leave Discord up or a guide up, which I did use once or twice. I can honestly say I've played more Diablo 4 in 800 to 1080p than I have on 4K on my 4090 gaming PC. So the reason I'm going in-depth on my experience with the Steam Deck is because I almost pre-ordered a ROG Ally on Best Buy, and then when I did the math, assuming I would be able to get what I paid for the Steam Deck, which is a huge if, it would cost me at least $300 to upgrade to the Ally. And watching reviews by other fantastic YouTubers, I realized I really don't think the Ally improves the experience I'm looking for enough to justify spending an additional $300 to $400 to upgrade it over my Steam Deck. So to elaborate further on my last statement, doing a much more in-depth deep dive on the pros and cons of the Steam Deck, do the cons really bother me that much enough to upgrade? So let's go over the Steam Deck pros. You can crack it open easily, which means easily swapping the hard drive, which I've made a video on, or any other parts, even the battery, which allows you to customize the system and save some money, and also increase its longevity if you think this is a machine you plan on using in the long term. I personally ended up swapping out the hard drive on the base model myself. I upgraded a 64 gig ECC drive to the 256 M.2 NVMe for $20, which saved me about $100 over the 256 gigabyte model, which was really nice. The trackpads are really nice, and they make using a mouse in handheld mode possible and even very convenient. The price, $400 for the base model, is a very, very, very reasonable price. And I would argue you couldn't get anything close to the performance of the Steam Deck, especially in a handheld for that price. Another positive is you are able to use it with a dock and run it in desktop mode. As I explained above, it is a pretty seamless experience, and I was surprised how, especially needing a quick computer in a pinch, not at any time did I ever feel like I was missing out using the Steam Deck as a desktop replacement. SteamOS is also another positive. It is basically Linux. It has a lot of customizations. You can easily install something like Battle.net, Epic Game Store, or any of that as long as you know how to tinker a little bit, and it's honestly not that much work. You can run basically 90% of AAA games at or above a playable 30 FPS. Now that we've talked about the good things about the Steam Deck, let's talk about the cons, because they're definitely cons. This thing runs hot. It runs really, really, really hot, especially when you're pushing it on AAA games like I usually do. Now, I've never held the ROG, but from what I've seen, just based on videos and how I know thermodynamics works, I don't really think the ROG can get this thing to be running cool. I mean, it's a computer. Computers run hot. You don't really notice the computer runs hot because, at least in my instance, I'm about 3 feet from my computer and it's locked up in a case. Whereas when I'm gaming with the Steam Deck, I'm literally holding it in my hand and the fan is blowing backwards away from my hand. So you definitely kind of feel it. The native resolution is under 1080p. The Ally is far and away an improvement over that, but I don't think I'd notice a difference if I wasn't looking at it both at the same time. And an example I will use to reinforce that point, when I was playing Diablo 4 on 800p or 1080p, I looked okay. It didn't look that great. I mean, it looked better than D2, but I didn't have any problem playing on it for hours on end. It wasn't until I came home from vacation that I popped D4 into my regular computer, and I was playing on 4K max settings, everything with my 4090 that I really noticed a difference. So basically, what I'm saying is, unless you have a way to play both resolutions on a regular basis at the same time, you're not going to know what you're missing until you see it. So in that sense, I think the resolution is fine. SteamOS. Now, while it's a positive, it can also be a negative depending on the person. I don't mind tinkering to get things to work, but a lot of people just want things to work out of the box. And in order to install non-Steam games, there's definitely somewhat of a learning curve. I would argue it's not steep. And if you are watching videos on YouTube like this one, then you are capable of watching a YouTube video to follow a guide to install different different programs on SteamOS, but I would be remiss if I didn't put it up there. So in my humble opinion, when weighing the pros and the cons, it is not enough for me to upgrade from the Steam Deck to the ROG Ally, and I'm excited to continue to push my Steam Deck to see where I can take it next, and I'm even more excited to see where the future in handheld PC gaming goes in the next few years. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe. I hope to be doing more Steam Deck videos in the future. Now that the weather's nice, I really enjoy gaming outside, and I plan on doing some more improvements to my Steam Deck, and I will be documenting those. Croupman out.